Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back for part 2 of our video series here. And if you remember from part 1, this has now been a couple days and I'm 100% done with the design and the measurements of the head that we were doing that I showed you guys. However, if you remember, that is a prototype head. So, you know, the biggest factor is doing a dye. If you mess it up, I always have either a supply of heads that I can just exchange it out and get the design done. This head we only have one of, so we want to make sure that the color is correct before we start. And if you guys remember here from the video, we want to do a girls Notre Dame head. And so we have a new color gold here. I want to go ahead and try that out. This is called Vegas Gold from Lax Dip, and never used this before. So this is kind of a little bit of an orangish color in the bag. Let's go ahead and dip this in right now. The water's ready. Okay, water's ready. We're gonna go ahead and test this out and see if we can get the color here. It looks a little bit more of a yellowish color in the water right now, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. Tip for you guys, even though we know what color we want the gold color on this girl's head here. What I always do if I want to test out a color we've never used before, I just take the very, very bottom of the head and use that as my test. You can always cover pretty much any color up you want with black. So even if you didn't like that color, you can come back to that head later, do whatever design. If it has black on the bottom, you can use that head. So let's go ahead and figure out, see what we got here. Okay, so we got 20 seconds so far. And it's looking pretty good. Okay. Okay guys, that was about 45 seconds here. I just dry this off real quick. Give you a quick show about 45 seconds there on this. So I like that gold color right there. Obviously gold goes anywhere from a yellow to a dark brownish color. But this color looks pretty neat. So if I was gonna layer something, that would probably be my first layer colored right there. And that's 45 seconds. Let's go time it another 45 and see how much darker this gets. Here we are, guys, at 1.5 minutes. Not much darker from the first layer, so we're gonna go ahead and leave it in probably a good another full 1.5 minutes. Let it really soak in here, get dark. All right, guys, here we go. I think we got the final color here. This is, you know, between 5 to 6 minutes in the gold dye. Let me show you the color here. Nice, it's more on the brownish side instead of the yellow side when it comes to a gold color. But I like it a lot. Usually when it comes to gold, I usually make up my own mix on how I wanted, you know, more yellowish, but you could actually take this color as a base color. If I wanted a little bit more yellow tint, you could add a little bit of yellow slowly into it until you got the color that you like. But I really like this brown. I think that's the color we're gonna go for here on the head that we're gonna dye. And then we're actually gonna do 2 layers. So I'm thinking the first 3 to 5 minutes on the first layer, get it that gold color we want, and then we're gonna come back with black, real quick dip, darken it up a little bit for our second layer as a shadowing, and you'll see that. But since I do like this girl's color right here, I'm gonna set the timer. I'm actually gonna go ahead and dip this whole thing in gold to come back, you know, on a later project and stencil it all out for a Notre Dame theme, and then we'll come back over the top with either a navy blue marble or a fade later on. So go ahead and set the timer, guys. We're gonna grab the head. We're gonna print out all our stickers that we're looking to put on the head, and then be back in a second. All right, guys, we're back at it here. Everything's set up. I always try and pre-do this before I get started, but the gold color came out really good. It's finally kind of cooled down and dried, and that color soaked in there. So we're gonna hopefully, remember this prototype head, so we're gonna try and soak this color in this one, and then I'll show you the design right now that I have. So the stencils that are on here currently is all gonna stay white. I kind of wanted to highlight a little bit of white in there. Little Lacrosse helmet, got some Vegas dice going on in there, inside and out, so a pair of them on each side there. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to soak the whole head to the color that we like, pull it out, try and match it to about the same color here. That's why I got this next to me. And then I have my whole stencil design here, and the theme I went with was I'm going to try and basically create somewhat of a Vegas skyline going across the scoop. So I'm gonna go ahead and work, guys, and then at the end show you kind of guys what I have here. All right, guys, so the water's ready here. We're ready to go. We're gonna dip this in. I'm gonna set the timer on the clock here for 5 minutes, but we are gonna check this about every 45 seconds to try and match it to the gold color that we want. And we're gonna be dipping the whole thing in right now. All right, we're at our first 45 seconds here. Looks like the head's taking the color, which is good. So prototype head is taking the dye. All right, so we're doing about ready to set up our second check here. We're about a minute and a half in to our dye here. You can see the color right now. It's that gold color. It's more of a yellowish right now. So I like to get a little bit darker. One thing we want to watch is, as we're waiting for our third check, is remember the head that when we first pulled out of the package, it wasn't a pure white head. It was kind of that off-white plastic. So, you know, this could be made with a certain type of plastic, almost like a ECD Weapon X or DNA. It always has that little off-white color. Those are a little bit harder to dye because they're made of a flex form plastic. And we're coming up on a third check here. So the color variation in this head is definitely going to be different than the girl's head here. But I do like the gold color that's starting to come on here. We might go one more, probably 30 seconds here, and then we'll cool it down. So we're coming up on our fourth check here, and it'll almost be about 3.5 minutes here. We'll probably check the color, cool it down a little bit, and just let it sit. And then that way it gives a chance for the dye to cool down, soak into the head a little bit, and then that can kind of change the color. So we'll kind of wait and kind of see what happens before we put our first outline of our skyline on. And then at that point, anything that's going to be gold on the head, we want to mark it, stencil it up, and then we'll start our layering with our black. The skyline is going to be gold on the front and then shaded into darker buildings behind it. And so here's our final check. All right, and I think we got that gold color we want. And we're going to show you guys here. Pretty close. And let me go ahead and cool this down. All right, so this is finally cooled down. We're ready to go, and we're gonna start doing our layering of our skyline. I'm gonna just give you guys a close-up on the color on this. Kind of a nice golden brown on this, and chose this color because I want to represent a couple things. One, kind of like the gold casinos in Vegas, it's cold color in Vegas, and then also the desert mountains that surround the city. And so we're gonna go ahead and start layering this off, and then we'll be ready for stenciling all the rest of this out. We have a lot of stenciling to do on this. So what I'm gonna do is lay the first layer of the skyline of the city that I want here. That's gonna represent the first half, but then I gotta go back, and there's a lot of stencils that we have printed out right now that I have to lay before I can get into the second layering of my the final color once we get into black. So as I'm layering this on right now, I'm kind of taking my stencils and I'm kind of measuring them out as I go here, placing them where I think you're going to be. There's no obviously right or wrong on this, but what I want to do is I want to put my highlights in the front, landmarks in the front, and then I want to put the bigger buildings, which are the casinos, in the background is really what I'm looking to do here. All right guys, so we're done doing our stenciling here, and I'm gonna give you guys a peek here at what it's gonna, or the first layer is gonna look like here. And I kind of changed it up a little bit with the buildings, and I'll kind of show you here. So here's the first layer here. So as you can see, you know, really cool. Just, you guys have probably recognized a lot of these landmarks in Vegas if you've been there. All of those are going to be in this gold color right here, and along with the palm trees I've added. All right, so then what we want to do right now is finish the rest of the head with anything that's going to be this gold color. Okay, I have some designs I'm going to put on here, some extra stuff, and then I'm going to come back, darken the head up a little bit, and I'm going to put the casinos in the background, the big larger casino buildings in the background here. So stay tuned guys, I'll post part 3 here once it's all stenciled up, ready to go, and we're ready to finish this head off with the black.